what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and boy, do I have an entertaining story to share with you today. Now, as you can tell, my title doesn't really say Attack on Titan review or rant, but more experience, because unfortunately, I attempted to see Attack on Titan, and for most part, I ended up kind of failing at it. Now, let me explain what happened. Now, as you know, yesterday was Wednesday, October 2nd, and I stated in my last update video that it was going to be a pretty hectic day because I had to do movie hopping from The Martian to Sicario to Attack on Titan. I ended up taking Everest because I saw a documentary on it, so I understood what happened, so I felt I didn't need to see it. And then later today, I got to go see The Walk and Pan, which I still plan to do. I just have to leave in about 2 hours. So here's what happened. While I was watching Sicario, I was constantly checking my watch because I was getting to that point where I kind of had to leave to go see Attack on Titan. So what ended up happening is I ended up missing probably the last, I want to say 15 minutes of Sicario, which when I actually ended up looking back into it, I missed a really chilling scene, which I'm pissed off about. So I go into Attack on Titan, and the movie's already maybe 5 minutes in. So you have your characters of Armin, Eren, and Mikasa. They're kind of at the walls. They've changed a few things, and they're talking, and the Colossal Titan shows up and attacks the wall, and the Titans come in, and we get to the first major problem. The Titans look absolutely ridiculous. It was so bad that everybody in the audience that I was sitting in was laughing because we couldn't believe what we were seeing. I mean, my God, something about the anime, something about it works. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because for me, I've always felt that in the anime, the Titans and the human characters were kind of done with slightly different animations, because I do know for a fact that the Titans do have faces, and initially they're just kind of giant human-eating naked people walking around, and they have faces too, but for some reason their faces are creepy. But when they try to bring it into live action, it just doesn't work. I mean, you had one that had really far apart small eyes, and you had one that had dark eyes, that had a bloody mouth. I mean, there were a couple of them that were a little creepy, but for the most part they were kind of hilarious. And I think you would have gotten the same reaction if they had tried to do the Godzilla nowadays using a guy in a suit. I think everybody would laugh at that. But from what I saw, it was pretty bloody. They changed a couple of things, and a lot of people were kind of getting upset, which, from what I'd heard going into this movie, that was going to be the case. Now, here's where the movie completely dropped off the cliff, because we get to this scene where we jump years later, and Eren's already part of the Survey Corps, and we get to one specific subtitle that says, "I've been waiting for this day," and it freezes. Now, I had heard this had happened in a couple other theaters across the country, because the team that works on the Slap on Titan, which is the parody series for Attack on Titan, that this happened to their screening too, and now it was happening to us, and no one understood what was going on. Now, I was the first person in my theater to actually get up and tell the ushers what was going on, and they're saying, okay, we're going to try to restart the machine, you know, we'll try something. So we're sitting there for 10 minutes while they're trying to work on the machine, and everyone's just kind of making fun of the fact that the subtitles are frozen. And at that point, no one cared, and so everyone was just kind of talking throughout the movie as it was going on. And so they ended up restarting the movie, and they sent us a couple of minutes back before it happened, and then the subtitles froze again, and then people were starting to leave, and it just became a joke fest from that point on. As far into the movie as we got to this section where apparently the Survey Corps were going out beyond the walls. There were a couple cows, and then they discovered this baby Titan. And why there's a baby Titan, I have no idea. It looks just horrible. And, you know, why these characters... And here's the problem overall that I had with having to watch this movie with subtitles, is the fact that you can't really tell the characters apart. I mean, you can tell a couple of key characters apart. For a majority of the cast, they all look alike. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive and say that all Japanese or Asian people look the same, but literally in this movie, they look identical. I can't tell them apart because we have no subtitles. For one point, I couldn't tell who was Armin and who was Eren. No one can tell. It was like, well, who's that guy and who's that girl? They kind of both look the same. Without subtitles, we don't know. And what made it worse is some of the changes, because they ended up stopping the movie and telling us, you know, the movie's broken, we can't get it fixed, and they just gave us these, you know, guest passes and told us we can come back and see any movie we want. But here's the overall problem that I had with the experience, is the fact that when you, aside from the subtitles, the way they were telling the story, I understand that when you have to adapt something from one medium to another, you have to make changes. That's understandable. But when you make changes, you need to justify why you felt these changes needed to be made to make the best story. Because I can tell you, this story, up to where we got, was crap. And if we had kept going, it would have just gotten worse. Because, like, about maybe 10 minutes into the subtitles being frozen, I was hearing people saying, "Where's Levi? Where's Levi?" And I already knew what they had done with Levi, and apparently some people didn't know, and I knew they were going to be pissed off. Now there's rumors that Levi might show up in part 2. I'm on the fence of if I even want to bother with part 2, because if they got the subtitles messed up in this one, is this something they're going to fix in part 2? We don't know. So, overall, the experience was, this was going to be a terrible movie. Probably on par with something like M. Night Shyamalan's interpretation of The Last Avatar or Dragon Ball Evolution. It was probably going to be in that range. I think I knew that going in, but I kind of felt like if I was going to rant on it, I have to see it first in order to say I have the right to rant on it. But it ended up being a pretty hilarious experience. I think by the end, if it kept going, it would have been one of those movies that it's so bad it's funny, and therefore I can actually find some enjoyment into it. It wasn't really something I was going to get too angry about, not like with Dragon Ball Evolution. But I think it's the experience of watching with a crowd that was making fun of it that I think would have given it a pass for me. If I was just sitting with like a serious crowd and, you know, everybody was hating on it, I probably would have, you know, damned the film myself to a degree. But I think it's the fact that the movie was bad. Everyone could see it. How it was filmed was bad. Some of the performances were over-exaggerated. You couldn't tell the characters apart. The subtitles were completely frozen. And I was watching with a crowd that was in a really good mood and tried to make the best of the situation. And so I can't give this movie a rating, but I would suggest don't see this movie in theaters. If you can get this bootlegged or you can watch it legally, I would suggest you do it that way, because this is not worth anybody's money here or anywhere else. So with that, that's technically my explanation of the Attack on Titan movie experience. I would like to know, have any of you guys seen this movie in theaters, and tell me, did your subtitles freeze as well? Please tell me about your experience in the comments down below, and if you like this, I guess, experience review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to catch me in my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching, you're awesome, and I will see you next time.